I was talking to somebody. I started here. I was in my 20s.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
I think I accidentally turned myself up when I was trying to make sure that I turned myself on in the first place, so now you're really going to get to hear me tonight.
There you go.
We're going to
Excellent.
begin with Hine Matov. Take a look around you. See who you recognize. See who you definitely don't recognize. Make sure to pick out somebody you're going to say hello to once you have a minute to do that. But first, let's welcome ourselves and each other into the space. We'll pray a little Hine Matov.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחיות גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לי, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לי, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, יאללה לי, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, יאללה לי, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחיות גם יחד. And for those of you who just, since this is throwback a little bit, I will tend to, when there is an inherently, exclusively masculine reference, I will add a feminine reference. So that's why we have Shevet Achim and Achyot, brothers and sisters. Even that's not complete, but it's more complete than not. So we're trying our best.
Indeed. So, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Nikki, it might be you. You're the one. Come on up. Say hello to the people. Here.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, I am Nikki Walker, and welcome. It's nice to see so many people here. There's lots of things coming up. Purim is coming up some point soonish in the next month. So
2 weeks. 2.5 weeks.
There's a bunch of activities, family-friendly, adult-only, and the following month, March 21st, please put that on your calendar, is our spring fundraiser, which is going to be super fun. So if you have any questions, please ask me afterwards.
Be there.
Thank you, Nikki. And for those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet, I'm Dusty. I'm one of the rabbis here. Rabbi Molly is the other rabbi here. And most of you, I think, actually, even if you don't know who I am or what I'm doing here, do know Cantor David Cirkenpool, who has said yes, thankfully, to joining me on the Bima once a month almost for this entire year as part of what we're calling Throwback Shabbat, which is an opportunity to pray the melodies that some of you are more used to but don't get to hear as frequently. And we tried out tonight a little bit, giving you the chance to choose a couple of those melodies as we were going through. And Cantor may make some decisions as we're going, get some community input as we're going.
Amen.
And I'll try and make sure that you don't have to hear too much of myself as I am speaking. In addition to Throwback Shabbat, perhaps ironically or unironically, tonight is Repro Shabbat, which I think many people feel is necessary because of the many throwbacks that we aren't looking for to happen in our community that have been taking place. And I'm going to begin tonight with a prayer for reproductive freedom from the National Council of Jewish Women, who puts together this Shabbat across the country. So many, many communities are honoring this Shabbat as Repro Shabbat. God of our ancestors, we affirm that you have created each of us in your sacred image, endowed with the inherent right to dignity and autonomy. We ask that you guide us toward a caring and loving community and nation that reveres this dignity in each of us. We affirm that reproductive freedom, the sacred right to own the personhood of one's own body, is a fundamental part of the just society for which we strive in your name. We ask that you endow us with the strength and resolve we need, because the path that lays ahead is challenging, and we all need resilience, strength, and courage. We ask that you protect the most impacted and marginalized among us, because it is they who are most at risk. We do this work in your name, O God, because we are the compassionate, loving creations of a compassionate, loving, and just God. It is holy, sacred work. May our country become a place of liberty and justice for all, and may our care for one another include care and respect for each other's right to good and affordable health care, including abortion care, and right to live safely and securely as we each follow our path of conscience and the God we each do or do not believe in. Amen. I was looking at the other communities who are offering words tonight about reproductive justice, and they chose this particular parashah, this particular Torah portion, and this week for Repro Shabbat, because this is the week in which we find kind of the core text that we use to develop our understanding of reproductive justice in Jewish spaces. And I always find it funny that on many of the Repro Shabbats that I have been honored to be on the bima for, we also have a baby naming, which I love, because part of reproductive freedom is the freedom to reproduce, not just to not reproduce, right? And so Caleb Chesner was here earlier tonight, and his family is sponsoring tonight's oneg, but we got a phone call yesterday that went as follows. We see that the service is at 7 p.m. We're not sure Caleb, 7 months old, is going to be entirely happy to receive a new name at 7 p.m. on a Friday night. Would you mind if we come earlier? So Caleb, I was going to say stood, but he is not standing, was in arms this afternoon around 5:30, and we stood in front of the ark and gave him his name, Caleb, which is also his Hebrew name. And I promised his parents that I would share with you all a little bit about the name that they chose for him before we light candles tonight. So, we chose the name Caleb because it means wholehearted and faithful, qualities that reflect his incredible strength. Our little guy arrived early at 29 weeks and just over 3 pounds, but from the start, he's shown us what determination looks like. After everything it took to get him here, Caleb has become our reminder to keep going, to hold on to hope, and to never give up, even when the road gets tough. His name perfectly reflects his incredible spirit. So, in honor of Caleb, and in honor of Shabbat, because that's why we're here, we will light our candles to bring in
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner
And before we offer Kiddush, I'll imagine, right, that Caleb and his family are here, and the first simcha that we get to rejoice in is their presence and Caleb's arrival into the world. Are there any additional simchas, moments, small or large? Adrian's ready with one.
Wow.
For the internet,
was
I'll
fast.
say, Adrian has Fridays off now.
And also, I got engaged 2 months ago.
Hey. One small, one large. You can decide which of those is the big simcha and which of those is the little simcha. Or maybe they're both equally awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you're here to celebrate with us. Any other simchas to, yes. Oh, the Maryland kids are coming to visit. Yes. We have a pregnant best friend's mom. And that is a simcha, Arnie.
Yay!
Perhaps worth noting, yes. It's funny, I was looking back at all of the sermons that I've given on this Shabbat, and a number of them are after really, really, really tragic or hard moments. And I was thinking, I didn't manage to do it, so I'm glad you said something. I was like, how can I incorporate the Seahawks into my sermon this week? And I couldn't get there, so I'm glad that you got there for me. All right, with all of those, oh, I saw a nudge. I mean, I'm not gonna call anybody out. Hey, Mazel Tov. Anything else? Yes, Carrie. Oh, okay. We've got some help in the back. One of our youngest members tonight is going to help everyone. You are doing the great mitzvah of helping the world experience services tonight. Thank you. So for all those, oh, no, Sally's got another one. Sally's son helped make the Super Bowl so special by doing all the confetti at the Super Bowl.
Wow.
That's pretty great bragging rights right there, Sally. All right, so for all of those joys and any joys you're maybe holding on to inside that you don't want to share out loud, we'll offer Kiddush.
We're going to do the throwback version, including the Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim in the end and the Amen at the end. And I just noticed one other thing. You'll notice some of you may not have been here, or you have not been here when I've been here that much, but I will generally be doing Sephardi Hebrew in most melodies. So sometimes the accent will be on the Sephardi accent, where you've been doing them. I listen on YouTube. I get in there. And they
He's
switched
been
over.
spying on us.
A lot of these Jewish melodies were written during the time when Jews spoke Yiddish. Okay, so the melodies come from the Ashkenaz version of Hebrew in people's minds. So the melodies reflected where the accent is. However, most of us now study Sephardi Hebrew because, for one reason primarily, that's the Hebrew that they use in Israel. There's only one country that speaks Hebrew, so we do it. So in a sense, I will do Shabbat Shalom as opposed to Good Shabbos. That's a more Yiddish or Ashkenaz version, okay? Some of the words are Yismechu b'malachutecha. So you hear the note, Yismechu b'malachutecha, and we all sing Shomre, Shomre. Accents are the first accent. But if it's Sephardi, it would be Shomre. It doesn't work with the music. So that's when the musicians and the Hebrew, they fight. So sometimes I fudge a little bit here and there. But I'm going to try to stick with the Sephardi Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר לציית מצרים לציית מצרים זכר לציית מצרים כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת אמן אמן אמן
L'chaim.
לחיים שבת שלום.
For 18 years, that's the only way I knew Kiddush happened.
Right,
And
but
then I
did
went
you-
to college in California, and I got to Hillel, and I got very confused.
But we can blame Tim because she just said
It's true.
l'chaim. And I would have said l'chaim. Well, we like to blame Tim.
I have a
for
hard time switching between the,
It's okay.
two phenomenal old men in my life. For those of you who don't know, Tim is my father. He's right there. We're going to continue welcoming in the Sabbath bride, the Shabbat bride. There's a lot of ways to say it. Whoever she is, we're excited she's here. And we're going to say hello and welcome her on page 20 and 21.
And by
Kadodi.
request, those of you who came early, if you're going to come back next time, come a few minutes early. This was a request. Ya la 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 l'chadodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela, shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. יא לה 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 לחדודי, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נשוחה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. יא לה לה לך דודי, יא לה לה לקראת כלה, יא לה לה פני שבת נקבלה. 5. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי,
Uri, Uri,
Kevod Adonai, Alayich nigla. Yalalai, yalalai, lechadodi. Yalalai, likakala. Yalalai, pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala. Gam b'simcha, u'tzola, merosh miketeh,
Am segula.
boi chala, boi chala. Yalalai, yalalai, l'chadodi. Yalalai, l'krakala. Yalalai, pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat, nekabel. Yalalai, l'chadodi. Yalalai, l'krakala. Yalalai, pnei Shabbat, pnei Shabbat, nekabela.
Page 28, we continue with Baruch Hu. Remain standing.
Baruch Hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Havorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed.
You may be seated. In the middle of page 30, we offer a blessing for creation. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. Join me. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu, kumenu nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei toratecha, u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hen חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה נגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Page 36.
Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha,
b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kadoshim Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Before we offer the words of Micha Mocha, I'm going to move us to page 123. I'm going to offer a reading in advance of Micha Mocha, and we'll come back to this reading later. In the middle of the page. And what is my lifespan? I'm like a man gone out of Egypt. The Red Sea parts, I cross on dry land. 2 walls of water, on my right and on my left, Pharaoh's army and his horsemen behind me. Before me the desert, perhaps the promised land too. That is my lifespan. Back to page 40. Adonai mihi kamocha nehedar bakodesh.
Ora tehilot, osef ele, nora tehilot, osef ele. Malchutecha, ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam, lifnei Moshe Miriam, ze Elianu ve'ameru. Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim, Adonai, mi chamocha, nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef ele, nora tehilot, osef ele.
On page 42, we find our prayer, our universal lullaby prayer, the prayer the rabbis wrote to help themselves feel better about how scary it is to go to bed at night, not knowing if you're going to wake up in the morning. Our prayer reminding us that the rabbis thought that sleep was 1/60th of death. And that if we we're given the chance to wake up the next morning, that is an actual gift. There is a miracle every single day that 1/60th stays 1/60th, and that we wake up and get to have a whole next day. So we offer words from Hashkivenu.
And you can read through the whole paragraph yourself. We're going to read the Chatima, the closing signature at the end, with the blessing starting with Baruch Atah, the 3 lines from the end. It's also 2 lines from the end of 42, and it's on top of 43 and the bottom of 43. Take your pick. Baruch Atah Adonai haporei sukkot shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Again, Baruch Atah Adonai haporei sukkot shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim shalom ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch Atah Adonai haporei sukkot shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
How can you not feel better going to bed when you get to sing that prayer together before going to bed?
Did anybody have a mom or dad that sang them to sleep? So
It's a
you could
nice thing.
Thank my parents.
Ask me afterwards ask my dad afterwards what song he chose to sing me to sleep with. We're going to continue on page 44 with Vishamru. Did we get a request? Or are you going to do what?
Do you know what?
Are you going to
Choose
one?
I didn't get the request. I didn't get that far. So
here we go.
I'm missing my pedal here. Just a second. It keeps sliding here. There we go. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafa. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et את השבת, את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם, ברית עולם.
We rise to begin the Amidah, beginning on page 46 and continuing on page 48, 50, 52, and then some silence.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el hagadol, hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
In the middle of page 57, we'll join together. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubts, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt trembles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yira na'avod. The top of page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. You may remain standing, or you may be seated. We're continuing in our Amidah. We're going to continue with Shalom Rav, a prayer for peace. And after we conclude our prayer for peace, we'll have a few minutes for your own prayers. And some people like to pray standing up, and some people like to pray sitting down. Whichever is going to be more meaningful for you, I offer you that. All Yisrael Amcha
Tasim le'olah Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We continue silently.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן.
Take a moment to think of those in our lives who are in extra need of our thoughts right now, who are hurt in some way, who are in need of healing. And I will, on this particular Shabbat, also name and honor the pain and the turmoil and the internal challenges often involved in fertility and infertility, and in the choices that people make and have to make and choose to make around whether or not they will bring children into the world and whether or not they are able to bring children into the world. And sometimes we know that pain, and sometimes we don't. But I guarantee that you are at most 1 degree of separation from someone who has felt some measure of that challenge in their own life. In our community tonight, we are thinking of those who are in need of healing, including Jacqueline Terrace Smith, Deborah Rose, Eileen Kreisman, Ronnie Haber, Ellen Gottlieb, Vanessa Bianco, Paul McCready, Glenn Letts, Carl Wilhite, Cindy Balin, Patty Newby, Joe Giordano, Ron Louie, Marion Laird, Sheldon Robert, Lisa Bush, Patricia Barber, Paul Norris, Stephen Thrasher, Laura Halper, Bob Cook, Jason Getler, Nina Schechter, Amanda Young, Wyatt Curcio, Tom Anderson, Mary Wilhite, Stephen Shuckman, Jennifer Stock, Margaret Nichols Kornblue, Risa Coleman, Jessica Abbott, Jody Buktenica, Seth Blank, Avery Dover, Mickey Resnick, and Chris Clark. We add to those names offer together words for healing, page 253.
Mekor habracha v'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu, Mekor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
So as I mentioned at the beginning of our service, it feels a little ironic, or maybe the opposite of ironic, a little apropos to lift up reproductive justice as part of our monthly throwback Shabbat, because in many realms, it feels like a lot of throwing back and rolling back has been happening over these past 10 years. Repro Shabbat launched 5 years ago in 2021 as conversations were ramping up in the Supreme Court about the potential that Roe v. Wade might be overturned. It takes place annually on Parshat Mishpatim, which is this week's Torah portion, which contains Exodus 21, verses 22 through 25, which are the verses commonly referenced as the foundation of Judaism's approach to reproductive health, rights, and justice. I'm not actually going to talk about those verses tonight. But if those verses and the plethora of Jewish text and tradition written with those verses at its core are interesting to you, please tell me and I will send you the text sheet on them. 5 years in, it's hard to know what else there is to say that hasn't already been said. Here's a short list of the points that feel most important. Number 1, Judaism supports a woman's right to choose her health and safety over that of an unborn fetus. Judaism in general doesn't really ever hand down a succinct yes or no on anything, this topic included, which means that the restriction on how one might choose to reproduce or not reproduce, those restrictions themselves are antithetical to Jewish practice. Interestingly, and perhaps important to note particularly on this night, because I'm not sure how widely we've managed to share this in our community, but the board of directors recently voted that Temple B'nai Torah add itself to the more than 100 partners of the Red Tent Fund, which is a nonprofit national abortion fund rooted in Jewish values and teachings that affirm the right to abortion for all. It was formed out of the October 7th attack, after which a number of abortion spaces became unsafe for Jewish people. And, I erased her full name, but the woman who founded the Red Tent Fund was part of a different abortion fund and sustained some. It became an unsafe place for her to work and be a part of Jewishly. And when she shared that story, it turns out that that was happening all over the country. And so it became important to find a way to make sure that Jewish people had access to this particular right. And so they created the Red Tent Fund, and Temple B'nai Torah has recently kind of raised our hand as supporters of that fund in particular. What I'm going to talk about tonight may come a little bit out of left field for most of you, if you're not Carrie or Astrid. But on page 123 of your book, which you were in earlier, you find these words. And what is my lifespan? Does anyone know where these words come from originally? You don't get to, you don't count. I know you know. Go for it. Not Psalm 90. Ooh, I don't know if I've ever stumped you. They might have originally come from Psalm 90 before they came from where they actually came from. So you might still be right. Anyone else have a no or have a guess? Okay, in the future, if you want to cheat, the back of the book will tell you the author of each of the readings. I will tell you for now, Yehuda Amichai is the author of this text. And Yehuda Amichai is a well-known Israeli poet that I talk about a lot because I wrote my capstone on him and I'm just a big fan of a lot of what he writes. It is a little bit funny that this particular poem, or that any of his poetry, has wound up in prayer books because he wasn't a particularly prayerful person himself. Before I tell you anything else, particularly why it is that I'm talking about this particular reading on this particular Shabbat, I'm curious, if you open your prayer book and look at these words, what you think it means. Like, what do you get out of this reading, this poem, this prayer? Adrian? Life is inherent. I'm going to try and shorten it, but make sure the internet can hear. Life is inherently difficult, but you have to have hope. Is that? It's an upward trajectory. Because it's an upward trajectory. Okay. I love that. Other readings or other kind of messages that come out of this for you? It's forward looking. Rather than looking backwards. Okay. Mm-hmm. Of necessity, right? Because behind you is Pharaoh's army, so you don't want to look back. Definitely. What else? Yeah, Serena. A message of survival. Okay. Interesting. We had on our way to a hand, yeah. If you want to, do you have a connection for us?
So it says, and what is my lifespan? So that could include when does it begin?
Indeed. So
Would you repeat what she said?
I would love to, honey. Helene said that one connection that you might make between this reading and the topic of tonight's larger conversation and the Red Tent Fund is that this phrase, lifespan, could call the question, when does a lifespan begin? Like, what is the beginning of a lifespan? And what is the end, maybe even, of a lifespan? So let's stay there for a minute. What is a lifespan? This is not a trick question. I'm truly curious about how you would answer that question. How would you define your lifespan? Birth to death. I've got from the doctor. Any other definitions that people would use for lifespan? The time that you're conscious of your being, which might not include some of the parts where you're technically physically alive even, right? All right, so the time that you're conscious of your existence in the world, that's your lifespan. Any other definitions of lifespan? Just for fun, I'll give you the poem that comes right after this poem in Amichai's anthology. This is his definition, perhaps, of a lifespan. One of his definitions of a lifespan. Open, closed, open. Before we are born, everything is open in the universe without us. For as long as we live, everything is closed within us in our lifetime. And when we die, everything is open again. Open, closed, open. Doesn't make sense, says someone. Does that make sense? It's a good question. It will make sense to some of you and not make sense to others of you. That's the thing about poetry. But the way that I understand it, that poem, that understanding of what is my lifespan, is that Amichai is suggesting perhaps that the only time that is not full of possibility is our life. That when we are alive and living, we are on an upward trajectory, but that upward trajectory ends up being the only path we choose, because we can't actually live multiple lives. We can only live the life that we live. But until we live our life, anything is possible. And after we live our life, anything's possible. So he's turned the idea of lifespan on its head. Okay, any other thoughts on this on this poem or lifespans before I share a little bit more with you on why I've taken you here? A viable
life, because then it could be, saved by modern medicine and NICU or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So in Judaism, one of the in the multiple definitions of what counts and what doesn't count, there is one of the definitions. One of the Jewish texts says that once a head is outside of the body, that's enough human that there's a human there.
To be clear, I came to that conclusion before I was Jewish, but I've always held that belief because Judaism says you are allowed to wrestle with things and challenge things, and I chose to hang on to that belief I formed on my own, even though Judaism says it's the first breath, and I know that the answer, but that's just what I came to on my own.
And there's other texts that are going to give you other definitions as well, because one of the things that Judaism does is really give you a span, as it were, of options from which to determine your own next steps on this path that ends up, when you look back at it, it's the only path you could have taken. But until you take it, there are many paths. So here's the question. Many of you read this, or at least the ones of you who shared this, who shared what you were seeing here, saw this as a poem of, if I'm looking at it as a poem of either constriction or of freedom, I heard more hope in the room, that this was more of a hopeful poem than a constricting poem. But as I was studying it with folks earlier this week, and even earlier than that, if you look at the words, right? I got walls of water on my right and my left, an army behind me, and before me is the desert. And I think some people read this poem and are like, oh, oh, it's closing in on me, all these different pieces. Even the words of the poem kind of create a little bit of a box, right? What is my lifespan? That is my lifespan. And everything in between it is what there is. And, as you noted at the very beginning, it's an active poem. I cross on dry land. And the Hebrew word there is the same word that is used is the same root that is used for the word Ivrim, which is the Hebrew word for Hebrew. So it's this reminder that we are movement-oriented people. Even when we are feeling constricted, we move forward. So as I think about the reason this Shabbat exists, that Repro Shabbat exists, because protections are being rolled back and laws are being reversed, and it can feel like we're moving backwards in time. And I hear so frequently from people this fear that we are in fact going backwards in time. I'll ask you, you don't have to share this part, how old were you in 1973? Think to yourself for a moment. How old were you in 1973? Might be a negative number, might be a positive number. And in 1973, what norms existed then that are no longer norms? What things used to be commonplace that are no longer commonplace? There may or may not be laws about them, but over time, we change, we shift, we move. So I've been thinking a lot this week about that, about reproductive justice and repro Shabbat as an opportunity to remind us that even though we have a wall of water on our right and a wall of water on our left, and Pharaoh and his army are behind, we are moving forward. And that even in the most constricted feeling places, we have the opportunity, the imperative, as a Jewish people, to continue crossing over, to continue taking next steps, to continue moving forward. That in fact, what feels sometimes like moving backwards is merely a moment in which we get to figure out how we next move forward. We don't actually ever move backward. We can't. You cannot time travel backwards. So as we arrive in 2026 at this 5th Repro Shabbat, ulai, perhaps, as the word of the poem says, perhaps the promised land too. The possibility, Adrian's going to give me my Nehemta in a minute, perhaps, yes?
Page 39.
Perhaps top of page 39.
Complementary passage to what you just were deciding as your text study.
So perhaps it is eternally Egypt, Adrian suggests. Perhaps there is a better place, a promised land. Perhaps the winding way to that promise is going to pass through the desert, the wilderness, and that the way that we get from here to there is by joining hands together, which is what we do when we come together for Shabbat. Amen. We continue on the top. Oh, we're not going to. Did you want to? Do you want to do it still?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I have to explain why I'm doing this.
Yeah, you started it.
I did. So Cantor always says, "Is there a song that I could sing after your sermon, after your words, after your teaching?" And I never have something in time, but I kind of did today. And you're gonna have to. Adrian's gonna give you the connection later because I have a feeling Adrian is gonna get it. Listen to the words. Figure out if you can determine why I thought our conversation and this particular song make sense together.
And then she handed me music. And it went like this. We are gifts. We are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'dor vador nagid God lecha. L'dor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'dor vador, these lips will praise your name.
Please rise. Aleinu can be found on the top of page 283.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei gedula l'yotzer breshit,
shehu sam chelkenu liyached et shemo,
v'gor aleinu l'hamlich malchuto, אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We think about those who came before us, those who will come after us, all they taught us, all we learn from them from generation to generation. We honor and celebrate and say aloud the names who have died at this time and in years past. And I'll invite you, if you are here honoring the yahrzeit or the passing of a loved one, or if you hear the name of someone and they call to mind the name of someone else that you're thinking of, I'll invite you to rise as you hear the name of your loved one and to share at the appropriate time additional names so that we can all keep those names in our hearts with us. We're in the first 30 days of mourning for Zoe Monserud, the friend of Max Levitt, Patricia Shapiro, our congregant and mother of Rachel Sterrett, Robert Bob Levin, one of our founding members, and George Levin, brother of Arnie Levin. We remember on their yahrzeit Beatrice Young Carlin, Gerald D. Michaelman, Manya Ostritsky, Abe Cobran, Elizabeth Spector, Glenn Cantor, Jack Edwin Williamson, George R. Mosler, Jean Pardo, Muriel Brill, Hyman Hurwitz, Gertrude Kier, Boru Wieselman, Larry Coriel, Eugene Friedman, Heinz Wheel, Wallace Arthur Reed Sr., and Anne-Marie Heyman. We add to those names. We rise together as a congregational community for Mourners Kaddish. Yit kadal v'yit kadal shmei Rabbah. B'alma divrach rute v'amlich malchute. V'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Vit barach, vit tabach, vit pa'ar, vit romam, vit nase. Vit hadar, vit ale, vit halal, shmeid kudusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam levracha. May their memories be a blessing. You may be seated. No.
Ulam chesed yibaneh.
chesed yibaneh.
Lai, 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 lai. Same words, olam chesed. Olam chesed yibaneh. Ya la lai, 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 lai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Ya la lai, 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 lai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Ya la lai, 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 lai. I will build this world from love. I will build this world from love. Yadadai, 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 yadadai. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai, lai, lai, la, 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 la. And if we build this world, if we build this world from love, yadadai, lai, lai, la, 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 la. Then God will build this world. God will build this world from love. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. I was wondering where you were. All right, Harmony, you get to start it, and you can take it to the people. Sound good?
Actually, I'm going to stay up here so they can come to me.
You heard her. She's going to stay up here, and you can come to her on your way out. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
This is one young lady that we do not have to worry about.
Thank you, Harmony.